Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. The story is about the four Marge girls, Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy, who live in match clusters. The four sisters, although knit together, were as different as night and day. They have different ambitions and dreams. Meg is beautiful and traditional. Jo is tomboyish, hot-headed, and wants to write. Beth is quiet and loves her piano. And Amy is an artist who wants to become rich. The story begins with the girls sitting in their living room, repining their poverty. They have decided to buy themselves a present to enjoy their Christmas. However, soon they change their minds and decide that instead of buying presents for themselves, they will buy presents for their mother, whom they call Marmee. Later, Marmee comes home with a letter from their father, who serves in the American Civil War after having lost all their family fortune. He bids them to be patient and to have faith. He adds that he is proud of his little women. Meg and Jo work to support their family. Meg tutors a group of unruly youngsters in the neighborhood, and Jo assists her aged great-aunt Marge, a wealthy widow living in a mansion named Plumfield. They do not have a strong financial backbone, yet their mother teaches them to be kind and to give to those in need. So, one Christmas, the girls give their food to a poorer family and their neighbor, Mr. Lawrence. After seeing the charitable deed of the girls, he sends them the finest dinner and delicacies. After that, Mr. Lawrence and his grandson Laurie get well acquainted with the Marge family. Mr. Lawrence's favorite is Beth, who reminds him of his dead granddaughter. He invites her to play the piano in his home and later gives her one. Laurie becomes close with the sisters, particularly the tomboyish Jo. The Marge forms a club in which they write a family newspaper and do small acts for fun. Drew smuggles Laurie into one of these club meetings and he becomes a member, presenting his new circle with a post box. The girls are busy with their own lives. Jo writes a novel and gets it published but has to edit most of it and even change the ending. Meg is invited to spend some time with some rich friends where there are parties for the girls to dance with boys and improve their social skills. Her friends think she is interested in Laurie, but she confesses that she is Kinner and Johannesburg Laurie's young tutor. Amy has troubled times at school and the teacher hates her as punishment. So Mrs. Marge withdraws her daughter from school. Jo refuses to let Amy go with her to the theater. In return, Amy burns Jo's manuscript and Jo, in her anger, nearly lets Amy drown while ice skating. One day, the family receives a telegram saying that Mr. Marge is sick in the hospital, and Marmee goes to tend to him. Jo, who is desperate to do her part, sells her hair to help finance the drip. Mr. Lawrence insists on accompanying Marmee, but she refuses due to his old age. So, Mr. Brooke travels with her instead. In Marmee's absence, the girls neglect their household chores. Beth goes to help a poorer family and contracts scarlet fever from them. Beth teeters on the brink of death and Jo tends to her as she had already had scarlet fever. Amy is sent to live with Aunt Marge in order to escape contracting the disease herself. The girls sent a word to Marmee to come home immediately. Beth never recovers, fully having lost all energy soon. Mr. Marge returns home from the war. Meanwhile, Mr. Brooke confesses his love for Meg to her parents. They are pleased but consider Meg too young to marry, so Brooke agrees to wait. He serves in the war for some time and returns after getting wounded. 3 years later, Meg and Brooke got married and moved to a new home. They have twins, Demi and Daisy. Although they love each other, Meg continuously struggles to live with poor financial conditions and dreams of better situations. She asks Marmee for advice on balancing the aspects of her life. Lori, who had gone off to college earlier, returns. Joe suspects Lori's feelings for her and moves to New York to escape Lori's affections. She thinks that Amy likes him and gives her a chance to win his affection by moving away. Amy gets to go to Paris instead of Joe because her aunt prefers Amy's ladylike behavior as a companion. In New York, Joe serves as a governess for 2 children and meets Professor Bayer, a poor German language instructor. Joe writes sensational romance stories for an extra money, but Bayer discourages her from doing so and advises her to find a simpler writing style. Meanwhile, at home, Beth's helped seriously detail your rates and your returns to take care of her sister. Lori proposes to her, but she turns him down by telling him that she loves him like a brother and that she could not romantically love him. Lori is heartbroken and travels to Europe with his grandfather. There, he meets Amy and slowly begins to fall in love with her. However, Amy is dejected by his forlorn and heartbroken attitude since Joe's rejection encourages him to find a purpose in his life. Joe, who devoted all her time to Beth, is inconsolable when Beth dies in Europe, far away from home. Amy mourns for her sister and finds comfort, and Lori feels the same loss. Aunt is reluctant about sending Amy unchaperoned. Therefore, Amy and Lori got married before returning home. Joe is happy for them but laments her loneliness. Professor Bayer visits the Marges daily when he is mattresses on business. Joe is sad when the professor doesn't propose and plans to return, but after encouragement from her sisters, Joe goes after him and they confess their love and got engaged. Since he doesn't have a steady income, they plan to postpone the wedding until he establishes a good income. After some time, Aunt Marge dies. Joe is shocked when she receives her aunt's large mansion, Plumfield, as she has always thought that her aunt did not like her. Joe and Bayer marry and turn the house into a school for boys. Amy and Lori have a daughter named Beth, and they have 2 sons of their own. At the apple picking time, Marmee celebrates her 16th birthday at Plumfield with her husband, her 3 surviving daughters and their husbands, and her 5 grandchildren. The novel ends with the family happily gathered together, each sister thankful for her blessings and each other.